emojis and stuff, and I had no problem using those, but I still would just never say LOL in text. And I like within the past 2 weeks, I was just like, man, I don't have time to have this fucking moral high ground in texting anymore. Like, no one even knows that I'm doing this on purpose. Why the fuck do I care?
So back to the point of how I always lose, like the point that I'm trying to get at, although I'd already talked enough at that point, and then point this and point A and point B to point C, and I'm just blah, 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 talking about nothing all the time. But what I was really trying to talk about there is absolutely nothing.
Great. I like the suspense.
What has been driving me crazy recently is that although I know that I've also succumbed to the use of language in these like abbreviations and emojis and all these different things, like what really infuriates me, like it's fine for text. Because back in the day, text was what? Was it 140 or 160 characters? Whatever. That's the reason like these abbreviations were created, right? It was because like it used to cost 10 cents a text and a text could only be this long. But instead, now they've become so much a part of the language that I see this shit in the Wall Street Journal, right? Like I see people who are editors of major news publications that are fucking up in their language because we text so much and we use so many emojis and we like use this shorthand. Like it's fine in text is what I'm trying to get at, but it has infected our day-to-day lives and people don't know how to write anymore. And it actually has like, so what I'm trying to say is like, there is a reason to kind of be a dickhead about that because it is dumbing the population. Like the thing is about when is it appropriate, right, to use text and use that type of language versus when are you a person who's a journalist who has a degree in communications and you don't know how to fucking like write an article without using shorthand that should only be in a text message. That's the difference.
Yeah. It's not okay. I use certain shorthand as you would be familiar with, such as like with, like I spell with W/, and that's just something I kind of grew up on, so it is what it is, but that's at least still more appropriate than
no, that's real shorthand, like that's those are agreed upon rules that W with a slash after it means with, like that's been known for a long time.
Rather than like I don't really have an example of what you're talking about, but
well, no, like, okay, what I'm talking about, the difference is that, so what you're bringing up is how people use shorthand in personal messages, and that used to infuriate you because you were like, I want to respect the language. Right. And what I'm saying is that in formal language, it doesn't matter how people speak or like how they write their words out as long as like the inflection is correct. And that's what you're saying that you've come to realize is like, what does it matter if I like use different inflections when I'm just sending a text message to a friend, right? Like that's the idea that you're saying. What I'm saying is that I completely agree, but I've now noticed that we've gotten so used to using that shorthand that it's infecting our like publications that are supposed to be held to a better regard.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that. And so that's where we deserve to have a problem with it. When the BBC, when the Wall Street Journal, when the fucking New York Times all has like spelling and grammatical issues in their writing, and they all do now, we're like, we should be like, that's fucked up.
No, and that still does piss like things like that do still piss me off. When it comes to like, of course, I have lowered my standards via text messages to be like all of you now. I'm sorry, I just had to fucking say it like that.
No, but that is the point, though. Yeah, to a degree. I mean,
when it comes to actual publications, that is not acceptable.
Yes, that's all I'm trying to get across here. Is like if you have a degree in communications or journalism, and you cannot stop yourself from using text message shorthand or emoji language in your articles, you do not deserve to have your job. But
your grammar needs to be perfect if you work for a publication.
Exactly. And so I think we are okay in being mad about that, but we are also dickheads when in personal conversation, like you're saying, you like learn to be like, no, it is okay to use LOL. Cause I'm like just talking to a friend. I don't need to get up my own ass about like laughing out loud right now, like being too fucking serious about it, whatever.
Well, speaking of publications, I have a headline the Daily Mail here. Pregnant man emoji is confirmed. Authorities sign off on controversial character, which is to become part of smartphones later this year.
What does that look like? That's the only thing. Is it like a big belly with a little dick hanging out, or
it is a mustachioed man with a mustache? Well, I didn't need to say with a mustache. He's a
little bit of redundant. A little bit of redundant.
A little bit of a red onion. So he's wearing a red shirt, and he just looks like a man with a beer belly, holding it and like kind of grimacing. And I don't know. Like, I could see using this emoji if I just felt like I ate too much one time.
That's all I thought. I was like, I've seen my uncle do that before. Like after a really good cookout, like I've seen my uncle in his big red shirt with his belly sticking out, like sitting there after too many bratwursts.
Of course, we're very accepting people here on the Loose Stool podcast, but the reason I had to bring this up is purely for the justification that the Emojipedia Academic Society, the justification that they gave, which apparently is a thing. I didn't know that. But their justification is men get pregnant in both real life and in fiction, Emojipedia claims, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 1994 film June.
The documentary. The 1993 documentary.
1994 documentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger Jr. Men get pregnant all the time, like that movie. Yeah, that happens all the time.
Holy shit.
Like, this is not a discussion about trans people or anything like that. I just want to call out how fucking ridiculous that claim is. Yeah, that happens all the time. Men get pregnant all the time, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie.
Oh my god. I mean, men do get pregnant all the time. Who can disagree with that?
Jesus.
Who can disagree with that? I mean, we've seen it.
No, we're not. Honestly, we're not going to disagree with that. I mean, like, I've been pregnant a few times, just on a whim.
Yeah,
and it's affected my life pretty severely, but I've gotten through it.
One time I jerked off and I didn't clean my hands very well, and then I had to poop and I wiped my butt, and I'm pretty sure I got pregnant. Like right after that, I like in my butt, I got pregnant because there was like a little bit of jerk off left on my hands, and I mean, like, as I wiped my butt, like some must have got left on there, and then there must have been some the female stuff from a toilet seat, and it all mixed together, and it's the way that God wanted it to be. It's the way
it was part of God's plan, but you emptied that pregnancy into the honey bucket, and there it went.
Nope.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, anyway. that didn't quite work. Yeah. There.
Stool with Matt Nic.
So I think we both know people that you talk to them plenty, they're close friends, and you tend to play the role of being sort of a free psychologist to them. Am I wrong in assuming that you know these people? People like this, I mean. I've been a little bit aggravated about this. Just, not like maliciously, but you talk to certain people enough, you know people for a very long time. And of course, I'm not going to name any names here, but it gets to a point where you sit there and you listen to people's problems. I've done a lot of this in my life for many years, where you talk to people and they will bitch about their life to you, but will not accept any input that you have to give them. Almost to the point where, like, if you even suggest anything that they're doing is wrong, it's almost like an immediate fuck you, and like they don't want to talk to you anymore. And it gets upsetting because maybe I'm putting this poorly, but I'll just keep going on.
Well, I think if I could, because I know what you're getting at, but I also feel that you're a bit aggressive about the idea right now of people like looking for input, and that's the only place. Now again, like, this is audio, and maybe you're like kind of seeing a face on me right now, like as you're talking about, like, because I don't disagree with the overall idea. I just feel like you're speaking on something about people looking for input, and sometimes that it can be a good thing that people are looking to you for that. So maybe it's just a feeling of like being a little bit too angsty about it. It's just it feels very angry about friends, like looking for your
well, maybe I am a little bit angry, and once again, I'm not going to name names here, but
no, you don't have to explain yourself. Just explain your feelings.
So here's the thing. I have a friend who has been calling me very frequently that their life is really fucked up right now. And of course, like, as I would with any close friend of mine, like, I'm here for them. I will sit on the phone while they bitch about their problems. That's no problem. I do that to friends myself, including you yourself, Nick. Like, and I appreciate, like, that can be a very cathartic thing to talk to a friend and just like complain about things and work things out while someone.
Well, and sometimes we can really bitch at each other, and it all works out in the end too.
But at least, I will say, like, I've done this with you several times, and it can be a very cathartic thing, but at least, like, we will have a very, like, back and forth conversation about it, and it ends up being a positive thing to talk about it in that scenario. Whereas this friend of mine will call me up and bitch about all these things about how the world is just constantly fucking them over. And then any kind of input, any kind of advice that I try to give is immediately rejected.